All right, Algebra 1. Here's a video I put together for a review of lesson 2.3. So I just got done making one for 2.2. If you didn't watch that one, you might want to watch that one. But if you didn't understand 2.3 in Apex, if you had trouble with that, here's some quick problems, a review on how to go about solving these problems here. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have here for 2.3. All right, so in my 2.2 video, I talked about what we're doing in the entire Unit 2 is a process called factoring. All right, and what that is just working a problem backwards. So we're going to be given an answer to a problem, and we're going to work it backwards to figure out what it looked like in the beginning. Okay, but here is an example of what we did in Unit 1. All right, so here's what we did in Unit 1. We were given problems like these right here, okay, and we were told to multiply these two binomials together to get an answer which would show up down here. And one way we did that is by foiling and using the box method. Okay, so if we take a look at our box method set up over here, if we multiply everything, if we take this problem and we write it off to the sides, and we multiply everything together, then we end up with our answers here in these boxes. And then in the middle, we would combine our like terms to get this plus 14x here. So our answer would be, to this being multiplied, would be 4x squared plus 14x plus 6. Okay, so there's a review of what we did in Unit 1. Okay, and this box method that we're using over here is going to be super helpful when we start working the problems out in 2-3. Okay, and here's something I want you to pay attention to in the boxes. Take a look at this first term here. The 4x2 is actually in that box, and this positive 6 is in that box right there. Okay, that's important to know because we're going to use the boxes to help us on these problems. Same with this problem over here. If you take a look, you got 2x plus 8 times 3x minus 4. All right, here's your setup on each side. You multiply everything, you get everything in the boxes. You combine your like terms in the middle, and it gets you plus 16x when you add 24x and minus 8x together. All right, so here would be your answer down here, and take a look again. In the first box is our first term, and in the last box over here is our last term, our negative 32. Okay, so we're reviewing that process because now we're going to work these problems backwards, where they're going to give us the answer, and we're trying to figure out what did it look like before everything got multiplied. Okay, so let's take a look at our first problem example that we have. All right, so here we have this trinomial. So we're going through the process of factoring. That means just working the problem backwards. All right, and it is 2x squared plus 15x plus 25. All right, so what it's going to look like is we're going to have two binomials multiplied together. Okay, and to help us figure that out, we're going to use the box method here to help fill in the spaces so we can figure out what got multiplied together. Okay, and just like we looked at on the previous screen, this is the answer to something that's already been multiplied. So this first term, 2x squared, would go right there in this box. And this last term, positive 25, is going to go right down there in that box. Okay, so we're working backwards. So we're going to fill in the boxes first, and then we're going to figure out what goes on the outside of these boxes. Okay, so now we just need to find out what goes inside of those two boxes right there. Okay, and to do that is very similar to what we did in video 2.2. We're going to take this number and this number. These get multiplied together. Okay, so we're trying to figure out what two numbers would multiply to get us this answer of 50. Okay, so we're going to have one number times another number to make 50. Okay, and then this number here in the middle, just like in 2, 2, this positive 15, we're trying to figure out what got added together to make positive 15. So we're going to have a number plus another number that is going to equal positive 15. Okay, so this is what we're going to do just like we did in 2, 2 to help us find what goes in this box and what goes in that box there. Okay, so find two numbers that multiply to make 50, and they also have to add up to make 15. Okay, so start finding your factors of 50. We would have 1 and 50. We would have 2 and 25. And we would have 5 and 10. And that's all of them. All right, so you want to find the two that are going to multiply to make 50, but then add together to give you 15. If you didn't see it already, it's those right there, 5 and 10. So if you take a look, 5 times 10 will get you 50. 5 plus 10 will get you 15. All right, just like we did in lesson 2.2. Okay, and why that's helpful is each of this 5 and this 10 are going to go in these boxes here, and we're going to put an x with it. So we're going to put positive 5x right here and positive 10x right there. Okay, so those fill in, these numbers here fill in what goes into our other two spaces in our boxes. All right. Now we just need to find out what still goes on the outside of the boxes, what goes over here and what's going to go up here on top of our box for what got multiplied together. And to find that, we're just going to find all the greatest common factors that we have in our box. Okay, so take a look. So first I want to find what goes right there. Okay, and that's going to be the greatest common factor of these two here, 10 and 25. All right, my greatest common factor of 10 and 25 is going to be 5. All right, and they don't have any x's in common, so I'm not going to put an x there. It's just going to be a 5. Okay, and then if I go this way, I want to find my greatest common factor that would go out here. So between 5 and 25, the greatest common factor is 5, and they don't have any x's in common. All right, I'm just going to do the same thing with the rest of our boxes. Now I'm going to go right here and figure out our greatest common factor for 2x squared and 10x. Okay, so take a look at the numbers 2 and 10. They both have a 2 in common, and they both have 1x in common. All right, and then now all I need is this last space right here. I need to figure out what's going to go in that box. So take a look at your greatest common factors going this way. For 2 and 5, I don't have a greatest common factor, so there's going to be no number that goes there. But they both have an x in common, so an x would go right there. Okay, and then take a look at our signs. This number here is positive, so that's going to be plus. This number here is positive, so that's going to be plus. All right, so this tells us our two binomials that got multiplied together. One of them was these guys, 2x plus 5. And the second one was this up here, x plus 5. All right, so that is our answer to this problem. This is what got multiplied together to make this answer up here, this 2x squared plus 15x plus 25. All right, if you do your foiling, you could check it and it would work out. It would give you exactly that answer right there. All right, so the box method kind of helps us figure out what got multiplied together. Okay, let's practice a few more and it'll all come together for us, hopefully. Okay, so here's our next one we got. We got 3x squared minus 7x minus 10. All right, we're trying to figure out what got multiplied to give us this answer here. And first we'll set up our boxes because we'll use that to help us out. All right, so this first term is going to go in the top of this box here, so 3x squared. And the last term with the minus, bring the minus with it, is going to go in this box here, minus 10. All right, now we just need to find out what goes along this side and what goes along this side up here on top. Okay, and to do that, here's what we're going to do. Take your last number over here and your first number here. Those are going to get multiplied together. Okay, so if you multiply them, you're going to get a negative 30. Okay, so you're going to have a number times another number to make negative 30. All right, and then this number right here, you're trying to figure out what got added together to make negative 7. So you're going to have something plus something else to make negative 7. All right, so this is very similar to what we did in lesson 2.2, this part here. Okay, so now you just got to kind of think about it a little bit. All right, you need two numbers that multiply together to give you a negative 30. The only way you can get a negative 30 when you multiply is to take a positive times a negative. All right, that's the only way it's going to work out. So that means these numbers down here also need to be a positive plus a negative, and we're trying to get negative 7. Okay, so now we're just going to find our factors of 30 until we find two numbers that are going to work. So factors of 30, we have 1 and 30. We have 2 and 15. We have 3 and 10. And we have 5 and 6. Okay, so there's our factor pairs of 30. All right, and we need one of them that's going to multiply to 30 and also add up to give us negative 7. And we need one of them to be a negative and one to be a positive to make it work. Okay, and our two that are going to work is these right here. All right, and we're going to have the 10 be negative and the 3 be positive. Okay, because if you think about it, positive 3 and negative 10 together are going to get you negative 7, and they're both together going to make negative 30 when you multiply. All right, so those are the two numbers we need. So we're going to put positive 3 here, negative 10, positive 3, negative 10. All right, so they both work out to make negative 30. They both add up to make negative 7. Okay, so we're going to put them in the boxes here with an x next to them. All right, so we have negative 10x. Okay, now we just got to go about finding all of our greatest common factors for the outside of our box. Okay, so starting this way, 10 and 10, our greatest common factor for those would be 10. Okay, we'll go this way. Greatest common factor for 3 and 10. We don't have one, and they don't have any x's in common, but we still need something out here. So when there's nothing in common, we can still put a 1 right there. Okay, now let's take a look at our other pairs. So let's go this way. So 3 and 3, our greatest common factor for 3 and 3 is 3. And they each have one x in common, so we'd have a 3x. Okay, and then lastly, we'll go this way and figure out what goes in our space to the left. So 3 and 10, we don't have a greatest common factor for those, but they each have an x in common, so we'll put an x right there. All right, and then now we just need to figure out what operations are going to go right here and right here in between. Okay, and your operation is going to be whatever is in this box. So we have a minus here, so we're going to put a minus there. This is positive, so we're going to put plus there. All right, whatever is in these boxes tells you what your sign is going to be. All right. So our two binomials, if we put it together, here's what got multiplied together. X plus 1 was the first binomial times what's on top, 3x minus 10. All right, There's your answer. That's what you're looking for. That is what got multiplied to give you this entire answer up there. All right, if you did your foiling steps, you could check it to see if it works, and it would work out to that up there. All right, we'll do this process one more time. I'll show you guys one more problem to work through here. Okay, so now we got this one. We got 3x squared minus 14x plus 16. Okay, so we're just trying to figure out what did it look like in the beginning. First, we're going to set up our boxes. Okay, and what's out here is going to go in the first box, 3x squared. What is over here is going to go in this last box, positive 16. Okay, now we're just trying to figure out what goes in those two boxes. Okay, and to do that, we're going to take first number and the last number, multiply them together. Okay, so we're going to end up with one number times another number to give us positive 48. All right, and then we take a look at this number here in the middle and decide what got added together to make negative 14. So we're going to have a number plus another number to make negative 14. All right, now we just got to think about how we could actually make this happen. What we need is two numbers that multiply to get positive 48, but we also need a negative 14. Okay, to make that work, to get a positive number when we multiply, we can do that by taking a negative times a negative. That way, if we go a negative plus a negative, it'll get us negative 14. All right, now that we got that, we're just going to figure out all of our factors to get us 48. Okay, so take 48, and we're going to find two numbers that are going to work for us. Okay, so for 48, we'd have 1 and 48. We'd have 2 and 24. We would have 3 and 16. And we have 4 and 12, quite a few of them. And lastly, we have 6 and 8. All right, so there's all of our factors that make 48. They're both going to be negative. All right, we already figured that out. So we can put some negative symbols. And we want to find which of those is going to make a negative 14 when you add them together. And it's going to be this pair right here. All right, so if we put those numbers in there, negative 6 times negative 8 is positive 48. That checks out. And negative 6 plus negative 8 is going to get you negative 14. So that checks out also. All right, perfect. We figured it out. Now let's just put those numbers in our box. So we're going to have a negative 6 with an x, and we're going to have a negative 8 with an x. All right, they got to have x's in these two boxes right here. Now let's just figure out what is going to go on the outside and what's going to go up here on the top. Those are going to be our greatest common factors that we see. All right, so take a look this way first. Greatest common factor for 8 and 16. There's a lot of factors, but the greatest common is going to be 8. And they don't have any x's in common, so we'll leave it just a plain 8. Let's go this way. For 6 and 16, our greatest common factor is going to be 2. And they don't have any x's in common, so we'll leave that just a 2. All right, let's take a look at going this way here. So 3 and 8, we don't have any factors for 3 and 8, but they both have one x in common, so we'll put an x out there. All right, and then going this way, 3 and 6, we would have 3, and they each have one x in common, so we'll put an x right there. All right, last step, we just need to decide on our operations. So whatever's in this box is going to tell us our operation, so we need a minus. Same here, whatever's in this box is going to tell us our operation, so we need a minus there. Okay, so our two binomials that got multiplied together are x minus 2 times 3x minus 8. Okay, that would be our answer to this problem. That's what we're looking for. All right, if you do your foiling, that would work out, and it would get you that answer right up here. All right. I hope this video worked out for you guys. That's all I got for you guys in 2-3. When you guys come back to class, we'll talk about more about this process. But see how that goes. And as always, if you need some extra help, please reach out to me. All right. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.